Hello and welcome to Sodanonymous. I'm your host, Sodanonymous. Today's episode is going to be a viewer request. A subscriber by the name of the Werepire King suggested I review this soda. So today we're going to be reviewing Cheerwine, and as an added bonus, I'm throwing in Diet Cheerwine. So it should be a fun one. Well, I got some fun facts here. Let's go over that real quick. Cheerwine is a regionally popular cherry-flavored soft drink that has been produced continually by the same family since 1917. Cheerwine originally came about from the death of an older soda. Maysville's syrup company's Mint Cola was very popular at the time, but due to sugar shortages caused by World War I, the company was forced to sell itself off in 1917. A regional franchise owner by the name of L.D. Peeler bought out the company, moved it to Salisbury, North Carolina, and renamed it to the Carolina Beverage Company. He continued to produce Mint Cola, but he was on the lookout for a new product that was less expensive to produce. After buying a recipe for cherry syrup off an unnamed salesman and tinkering around with it a bit, even adding some Mint Cola to the mix, he had it, Cheerwine. While Mint Cola was discontinued in the 1930s due to market pressure from Coca-Cola, the more popular Cheerwine stuck around and remains relevant to this day. The name Cheerwine came from the burgundy color of the drink. Cheerwine actually contains no alcohol. The drink has achieved cult status in the South, especially in the Carolinas where it originated. You can find Cheerwine in a sauce, ice cream, popsicles, even cake. The drink is said to be so powerfully carbonated, it has issues coming out of a normal soda fountain. An Ohio-based restaurant chain called Old Carolina Barbecue Company had to install old-fashioned soda fountains just to serve the iconic beverage. U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower was known to enjoy the soda, famously exclaiming on his first sip, "Ike likes." All the way up until the 90s, Cheerwine was only available in North Carolina. The soda spread throughout the Southeast during the 2000s. Finally, in 2017, Cheerwine has had a national rollout, expanding to all 50 states. If you want to find Cheerwine in your area, they have a list of distributors on their website. Regular Cheerwine is currently available in regular, diet caffeine-free, and the real sugar varieties. More recently, there have been some limited edition flavored varieties, such as Holiday Punch, which comes around Christmas time, Cheerwine Cream, which they did a sort of a promotion with Krispy Kreme. So Krispy Kreme got Cheerwine flavored donuts, and Cheerwine got sort of a Krispy Kreme flavored soda. It's kind of interesting. And Cheerwine Squeeze, which is like kind of a citrus thing. All right, well, with this out of the way, let's get on with the review. First off, a little bit of my history with the drink. I've had Cheerwine before. Cheerwine is very popular. It really has a really strong fan base. Whenever I seem to be discussing soda, Cheerwine is a name that's definitely thrown around. So when it comes to the regional sodas, or not necessarily the biggest of the big companies, but the tier below that, Cheerwine is always thrown into the conversation. So a few years back, I had Cheerwine for the first time. I bought it from a fresh market, and I remember liking it. I remember thinking it sort of tasted a little bit like Dr. Pepper, but the cherry notes were stronger. I remember it's a very sweet drink, so I'm interested about that. But yeah, this is the real sugar, or the retro variant. Unfortunately, in my area, I'm unable to find the high fructose corn syrup version. I know that has a bigger issue with availability, which is kind of interesting. That's usually the opposite. But in this case, the high fructose corn syrup version is more easily found in the sort of original place, which is North Carolina, whereas the sugared version is more easily found elsewhere. But anyway, this is the real cane sugar version. I plan to do the high fructose corn syrup version eventually, but hopefully this is good enough for you, the Werepire King. Anyway, I've only tried this about once or twice, and I do remember liking it a lot. It's just, it hasn't come back to me. In terms of sodas that I've had in this ballpark, I've had cherry Dr. Pepper, of course. I've had this cherry limeade soda from Frosty Drink Company, and there was also Red Pop, which I remember sort of being in the same vein. So if you're a fan of Cheerwine, and you want to expand, you might want to give those a shot. But anyway, yeah, let's pop this open and go for a smell test here. This should be fun. Save that for the bottle cap collection. And let's give it a pour here. As they say, it is very carbonated. You can see those bubbles. Well, maybe you can't, but I can. There's so many bubbles just rising up to the top. All right, let's give it a sniff here. Yeah, that's good. All right, so it's mostly cherry. I would say it smells like if you, I forget what they're called. They're the plastic wrapped popsicles where you would they would sort of melt and you would push them up and they would come out. The cherry version of that tastes like what this smells like. An icy, I think, is what it's called. It smells like if you melted that down and mixed in just a splash of Dr. Pepper. It's clearly not just cherry. There's some sort of darker smell to it. It's a bit of that like peppery spice that you would get from a Dr. Pepper. Not clearly as strong or as complex. But I think it makes the cherry smell deeper. Darker, more like a black cherry, rather than, say, a candy cherry or your standard red candy flavor. The actual cherry is it's nice. It's pretty distinct. I know that some people say this tastes to them like cherry Coke. I'm not getting any cherry Coke smell from this at all. The cherry itself is bright. Not exceptionally so, it's much less than I thought it would be from what I remember tasting. But underneath the brightness of the cherry is, like I said, the depth of the Dr. Peppery, medicine-y kind of smell. It smells very nice. And I love this color. It's like this dark, almost burgundy look. Very wine-like, so the name is appropriate. But anyway, that's enough fiddling around. Let's go for a taste here. So, real sugar Cheerwine going down. Okay. All right. Well, the first thing that's remarkable to me is the carbonation experience. I already knew going into this that this soda was famous for its high levels of carbonation. The interesting thing to me is that despite its high levels of carbonation, and there is a really high level of carbonation, it's not a bitey kind of soda. It doesn't really bite my tongue at all. Instead, when the soda enters my mouth, the sheer number of bubbles almost creates this airy pocket in the center of the liquid that all rises to the top. It's got a very pleasant mouthfeel. It's like a soft tickle. Now, usually those soft, tickly kinds of bubbles only come from really a bunch of really tiny bubbles, so your cream sodas or, say, a Pepsi. These bubbles are nice and big, like Coca-Cola, and there's more in this than a Coca-Cola, but it doesn't bite your tongue. It's really interesting. All right, well, that's enough about the carbonation. In terms of flavor, it's actually way less intense than I remembered. I don't know what I was misremembering, but this is pretty mellow in a good way. I like this. It's sort of a sweet cherry flavor. It's much more of a black cherry, but it's not like a sour black cherry. Excuse me, it's really carbonated. It's like a nice, pleasant, I won't say it tastes natural, because it doesn't. But the black cherry is more natural than what I'm used to tasting from other black cherry sodas. It doesn't throw in this sour zing. It's just a nice, comfortable tart. So the initial flavor is your first hit with some sweetness, but it's not overpowering. It's actually less sweet, I would say, than, say, a Cherry Coke. You get sort of that stereotypical red, icy flavor. It's got that sort of, how do I articulate this? It's like a deeper taste in the red that's rarely found in candies. I really only associate that with those icy pops. It's almost like, this is going to sound weird, but it's almost like comparing purified water to mineral water. There's a little bit of that like earthy taste, but I mean that in a good way. It's got like flavor, character to its flavor. Beyond that, we've got the tinge of peppery style flavorings. It doesn't taste like a Dr. Pepper. So once again, I don't know what I was thinking previously. But it is a very good cherry soda. I would classify this as strictly cherry, black cherry more likely. Whatever peppery is in there is just subtle notes, and they really do complement the cherry very well. It adds more depth, and it keeps it from just being sort of a sugar bomb. What this soda could have been would be something like a Red Pop, and I like Red Pop. It's good, but Red Pop is a very, very occasional drink. It's so extreme, in terms of the sweetness that I can buy one and enjoy it as a dessert or whatever. This I could sip on, just like Coke. I can drink this every day and be fine with it. It's nice and mellow. So it's not a super candy kind of soda. It is much more laid back, chill. It's enjoyable. So in terms of a rating, I'm going to give this a 9. I really enjoy the flavor. I really like the mouthfeel. The carbonation, I think, is the MVP of this. So just for that alone, it's worth a shot, just for this weird, enjoyable sort of experience with the overcarbonation. But I wish it was just a little bit stronger. It's almost like, it is very laid back. So I could see myself just casually sipping on this and having a good time. But I wish for just a little bit more pop. You know, something that you'd get from, say, Dr. Pepper with cherry. But it's still really good, and I enjoy it. If you don't like soda that tends to sort of overwhelm you with flavor, maybe give Cheerwine a shot. It's still sweet, still very sweet, but it's a nice, simple flavor, you know, that doesn't taste just like they bottled candy, which a lot of cherry sodas do taste like that. All right, so this is a 9. We're going to try the diet one now. This is going to be a blind tasting. I've never had the diet version. Honestly, I don't even know what's artificially sweetening this, so let's take a look here. Sucralose, so Splenda, Ace K, and that's it. Sucralose and Ace K. Okay, so diet Cheerwine. I'm interested here. Also very bubbly. Well, that's one thing that it's keeping right. Just going to do a quick comparison of the smell here. I'm sorry. I'm honestly not really getting any smell at all. It's like there's a little bit of sweetness in my nose. It doesn't smell like cherry. It doesn't quite smell like anything. It's got a little bit of a sweet smell. But you know, I doubt it's going to taste like nothing. So let's give it a shot. Diet Cheerwine going down. That's interesting. That is very interesting. Same mouthfeel, which is nice. I like that. Very well carbonated. Like I said, smooth, no bite, no nothing like that. But it's like an air pocket, just enters your mouth, which is awesome. The flavor is really similar, which is interesting to me. They're both very simple sodas. There's not much to dissect. I mean, it's a cherry. But it's not a candy cherry. It's more of a black cherry with a tartness underneath. Is really all it is. That's not super intense. This adds a little bit of a bitter aftertaste, which is interesting to me because usually fake sweeteners, instead of adding bitterness, they generally add like a sickly sweet taste afterwards. And I'm getting just a hint of that in my saliva after I'm done drinking this, but it's barely. This isn't half bad. That is better, though. All right, so back to back. This is a little bit less bright. It's the same flavor. It's just the cherry is not as bright and intense. And I think that is the lack of the cane sugar. The cane sugar tends to give you the wow factor. The bitterness kind of gives it its own appeal. It's slightly approaching cranberry now. It's still very distinctly cherry, but the bitterness reminds me of like a cranberry mixed drink that like an adult drink, like a grown-up drink. So honestly, this is a very good diet soda, so long as you're willing to take a little bit of that bitter taste. I think a lot of people who don't want those sickly sweet diet sodas might want to give Diet Cheerwine a try. Diet Cheerwine should be available in all 50 states. Like I said, you check their website, and they'll give you the distributor information. But yeah, this it's not as good. I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. I would say it's on par with Coke Zero Sugar in how quality of a diet soda it is. I think for people who are a little bit more used to the bitterness, maybe they drink a lot of cranberry, or if they have like club sodas, I think they would like this. It's not an overpowering flavor. It's just a nice black cherry flavor with a little bit of bitter notes on the end of it. As a replacement for Cheerwine, it's fairly close. Regular Cheerwine is clearly better, but it's not too far off. It's a little bit less bright, but for a diet soda, it does its job fairly well. So if you're looking for a 0-calorie soda in the cherry vein, I don't think you can go wrong with Diet Cheerwine. It's pretty good. All right, well, that about wraps up the review. Have you guys ever had Cheerwine before? Let me know down in the comments below. In fact, if you've ever had any cherry soda like this, I'd actually like something a little bit stronger. So if any of you know of a cherry soda that has a bit more punch than Cheerwine, let me know. Beyond that, this did come from a viewer's request. So if you guys have any requests, let me know, and I'll try to get them to them as soon as I can. Luckily, Cheerwine is right around the corner. So, I had no problem picking this up for that viewer. But, if you recommend something, I am reading all your comments and I am listening. So, you're not being ignored if I don't review it right away. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. So, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. And, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.